Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks goes ballistic against Whoopi Goldberg. Here we have the left eating their own. I freaking love it. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. I post 2 new videos every single day, so make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, because you know YouTube hates channels like mine. They hate free speech. Hello, I am the definition of free speech, obviously. Anyways, let's get into the drama.
I think ground zero for what ails America is that for the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents at the age of 30. That's the first time it's that creates rage and shame in every household. The average 70-year-old is 72% wealthier than they were 40 years ago. The average person under the age of 40 is 24% less wealthy. Young people aren't entitled. They're entitled to be enraged. We are transferring money from the young to the old. It is the least American thing we could do.
That is author and businessman Scott Galloway on The View talking about how the young in America have a right to feel like they are being screwed over economically. Here's more.
What's the result? People are opting out of America. It used to be 63% of 30 to 34-year-old able-bodied people had kids. Now it's 27%. And I don't think it's because they've decided they don't want kids. I think it's because they've decided, well, we haven't raised minimum wage in 40 years. All the tax cuts go to older people. The largest capital transfer in history happens every year. Young people transfer $1.5 trillion to the wealthiest generation in history, and that's seniors. Young people aren't entitled. They're entitled to be enraged. We are transferring money from the young to the old. It is the least American thing we could do.
Okay, all of that is fascinating, and in his extended remarks, let alone in podcasting and books and all that, he identifies a lot of reasons that we've ended up in this situation. As you saw in there, he's talking about government policy, the way that taxes are done, the tax cuts that we have, all of that. But as a result of a question from Sonny, he does get into one area that The View is going to love that perhaps some people who are so far on board might not like as much. Take a look at this.
We can acknowledge, I think, that many economic factors may not be in their favor, right? But is there also something to be said about the work ethic of kids today? We hear that a lot. This generation seems to prioritize work-life balance, flexibility to work remotely.
No, let's be honest here. Honestly, Gen X or Gen Z, I mean, they are lazy. They feel entitled to be able to work from home and blah, blah, blah. Like, they are the laziest generation. Yes, my own generation. I'm calling you guys out, okay? It's sad, but true.
Job hopping, does that factor in? Because I think work-life balance is very important.
Yeah. So one of my tips to young people, I ask my kids, when I say my kids,
I just want to say, if I'm a business owner, I don't care that you want to balance your work life, you want to balance your work and life schedules. It's like, no, I want to hire someone that's going to literally prioritize this job, because someone else will. And if you won't, bye, adios.
My students, where they expect to be economically by the time they're 35, and the majority of them expect to be in the top 10% or 1%, and then they go on to talk about balance. Let me dispel a myth. If you want to have influence or economic security, stop using the word balance. Unless you're freakishly remarkable, which most of us aren't, or you're smart enough to have rich parents. And if you want to be really successful and influential, expect to do nothing but pretty much work for 10 or 20 years. That's called capitalism. It's a cruel truth. But look, at the end of the day, you can have it all. You just can't have it all at once.
Yes.
And it's
Well, I want to ask you for.
Okay, they obviously love that. Whoopi loves that. It actually mirrors something that Whoopi has said.
Am I going to have to agree with Whoopi Goldberg right now? Gosh.
Recently, which we'll talk about. And I like a lot of his diagnosis of the problem, but telling people fresh out of college, you need to do nothing but work for 20 years to be successful is definitely rough advice. I'm curious.
How about don't go to college because it's a waste of your time and a mother freaking scam?
Think what you make of all of Scott Galloway's appearances there.
Pausing here to deliver some.
And an ad. Thank you, Cenk. Thank you for your ad.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
I totally agree with him. So let me explain, because I'm not. So The View is at this point among the top 2 most establishment shows on television. Morning Joe and The View, okay? And so if you go in there and you tell them that the young people are getting screwed, they're gonna hate it, right? But the reason why Scott Galloway is a really good messenger of this is because he's otherwise kind of establishment-y. And so if you heard some of his other opinions, you might not love them. He's awful on Israel, etc. But that makes him a good ambassador for television. He did the same thing on Morning Joe. And so normally if I said the same exact things that Scott Galloway is saying, they'd be like, boo, get him off there, get him off there. No way. There's no way the young people are screwed in any way. They're all spoiled little brats, etc. And now why do they always say that? As I've told you many times, it's because their own children are spoiled. So they only have experience with super rich children. So they don't have experience with millennials growing up in Nebraska who are happy that they moved up to assistant manager at Burger King, right? So they're totally detached from reality. So Galloway almost has to do a little dig at young people in order to get Whoopi and everybody else to be like, yes, okay, all right, we'll listen now, as long as you hate them as much as we hate them, right? And so now, but he's not wrong on that work issue either. So if you want to have a good living, in the old days, you had to show up to work, do your job, and you take care, do your job, and the company takes care. Those days are so long gone. People who believe them are like, if they're not 98 years old, they're 98 years old in mentality, right? So like, there's no corporation's going to look out for you, blah blah blah. Come on, everybody knows this already, except the people on television, right? And so, but at the same time, if you want to, so in this new modern world, if you want to be in the top 10, 1, etc., yeah, you gotta work your ass off, and then it's still gonna be super hard, right? It's not anywhere near guaranteed. But if you want a life-work balance, you should be able to do that and be middle class in America, but we've destroyed that. So there's a difference in what you're trying to get to. But the most important thing he's saying is about how the rules have been rigged against the young. And it's done through the tax system, it's done through the laws. And that is a very important message for him to deliver to the most establishment show in the country, or the 2 most establishment shows, and their audience. So he can snap them out of hating young people for no reason and understanding, as he explained later in that segment, now housing prices are 4 times what they used to be, and education prices are twice what they used to be. So no, the young do not have it easier. They have it much harder than the older generation. Brian, what do you think?
I mean, 2 things occurred to me that I believe that. Well, first of all, this notion of balance grew out of, and you guys correct me and or weigh in here, but this notice of work balance really became popular after COVID. It's not as if
No, okay, I just have to cut off the insanity here. The idea that you need a work balanced life is just an entitled mindset. Are you going to be a good employee? Or are you going to dedicate yourself to this company? I don't know. Like, my husband may disagree with this, but that's why he's a business owner and he expects this from his employees. Obviously, why would you hire someone that prioritizes their personal life over the business? You know what I mean? But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.